I'm going to do. I am live. I'm dangerous, and I've got a little. What do we call it in my hand here? What have I got? What have I got in my hand? A little old Heineken. There you go. Anyone here? Is there anybody out there? Oh, it's 6:30 a.m. in the UK. It's 1:30 p.m. here in Bangkok. 2 people are here. Welcome, 2 people. Welcome, you 2 people. Great to have you here. Great to have you here. I'm going to wait for a few more to arrive. Maybe some comments on the screen. Okay. Elder, hello to you. John Ash, great to have you here. Medford's Best Podcast. Sup, Eduardo. Okay. Tommy Koto, morning, Ed. Sean Young, good morning. Dylan Cook, hi. Okay, now Paul Austin, Donald Trump is here as well. Howdy. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to waffle on the usual rubbish that I talk for the next 5 minutes or so, and then send a link to my guest on this show here. Big ups, Mr. Ed. How's it? Well, big ups, Mr. Ed. And okay, Todd Armstrong. He was that actor out of Jason and the Argonauts, wasn't he? Spitz Energy. Hello to Spitz Energy. Hi, Eddie from Chiang Mai. How are you, mate? Good to hear from you. What's happening with Gary? Hi, Eddie from Melbourne. Okay, now this is an ungodly hour. I so wish that the whole world was on the same time zone. It'll make things so much easier. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here in Bangkok. It's 6:30 on a Sunday morning in UK, and in America it's extremely late last night. Australia, I think that's better. Tony Christensen, hi Eddie, watching while on the treadmill. Okay, great to hear from you. I should be doing a bit more of that myself. MA, Joey Roberts, Fred Johnson, Borders Boy, 6:30 a.m. Medford's Best. Okay. Medford's Best Podcast. Okay, great to have you. Now, there's 38 people in the chat. Now, what I'm going to do now, we'll try and build up. There's not going to be many people in this chat. I think it's a bit of a ungodly time, really, in other countries. But what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to invite my guest. Let's see if we can get him on. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can get him. It doesn't always work. Okay, 2. Okay, enter. Right, let's see. Yeah, there you go. Now, okay, his name begins with the letter K. Okay, let's see if we can get him. If this doesn't work first time, then it won't be the first time that it doesn't work first time. I mean, you know what I mean? Okay, let's just see if I can send this. I'll get him to appear in the waiting room. Okay, we'll see. All right, we'll see how that goes anyway. If he appears in the waiting room, then we'll bring on Carl. Yes. Yuko Neo, your speech in Canada, remind me of Kevin. I'm a young guy still, and it's all in love. Okay, great. Steve O'Connor, great to hear from you. Perfect time zone for Cambodia. I really hope that you've recovered well, Stephen. It's great to have you there, mate. Really great to have you there. Wells 32, that comrade Eddie. Okay, Tony Emmett. Hi from. But we're not going to talk about those terrible events that are happening. Eastern Europe, and we're not going to talk about that, even though it's so sad it is. I mean, we're not going to talk about that. I think everyone's affected by that right now, but we're not going to talk about it. Okay. Super Stephen, hello Ed, I'm in Pattaya Beach, see you soon. Okay, I'm actually in Bangkok. I'm in a very, very reasonable hotel, an extremely reasonable hotel, and I might be in Bangkok for a while. Maybe I was planning it for maybe 5 days, but I think I could possibly be here for bit longer, simply because the hotel that I'm in, it's a bit rough and ready, a bit rough around the edges, but it's pleasant. It's very, very central. And I went out last night to sample what Bangkok is all about. And basically, I went out last night to see what the script is with Bangkok right now. And it seems to be okay. Seems to be things happening. Jeremy Squire, Nice to hear from you. The Karl'S 777, Idaho to Iceland. Howdy, Eddie. Okay. Really, really great stuff. Now, there's 55 people in the chat yet. I hope the message has gone through to Karl. I hope he's received it. I'm sure he'll let me know if it hasn't. Paul, really enjoyed the hotel reviews, Eddie. Okay, that's it. Okay, really enjoyed. I enjoyed staying in that ship hotel. I don't know if you've seen that one yesterday. I mean, you passed it a million times, million times, and let's see, passed it a million times, but never actually been in there. And I enjoyed staying there. You know, it was kind of subtle. You know, they had a, what do we call it? You know, a polo mint lifebelt there around the mirror. Okay, so let me see now. 56 people in the chat. Wayne Kate, okay, sorry to wake you up, mate. Sorry to wake you up. I assume that you're in England and it's a Sunday morning. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how many night owls there are out there. Yeah, I'm a bit of a night owl myself. But what you've got to understand, my first, my preferred live stream is 10 p.m. UK time and weekdays, and that's what I really like doing. The fact is that 10 p.m. UK time is bloody 5 o'clock in the morning here in Thailand, so there's no way that I can do that. Okay, still waiting for Karl to appear in the waiting room. I hope that message has gone through to him. Patches, bro, most important, did you get a route today, Eddie? I'm still suffering from jet lag. I took a taxi all the way from Pattaya to Bangkok, so you know that was it. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna see where Karl is. Is Karl there? Is Karl there? Let's see. Is that actually? If it hasn't gone well first time, there you go. Let's see. Let's see if he gets the message this time. Okay, so hopefully he's got it in his messenger. Hopefully Karl has got this in his messenger. We'll see how it goes. And we've been relieved to see. I've had this before with I have had this before with StreamYard. It's very, very temperamental. Let me see. What was that comment there? Stephen O'Connor, will you be celebrating International Women's Day on Tuesday? Show them the love. Absolutely. Well, yeah, I suppose on Tuesday. That's 2 days away. Okay, I'm trying to arrange a soapy for that day. But yeah, I'll show them a bit of love. The good old Bangkok soapy. Rich Blang too. Hello, Eddie. Have you ever been to Bohol in the Philippines? Nice white sand beaches at Bangalore. Not exactly. Oh yeah, sorry. I have been to Bohol in the Philippines. I have been to Bohol, and it was lovely. It's more famous for the chocolate hills than anything else. It's more famous for the chocolate hills. It was nice, very, very nice. The Karl'S 777. Lads, get on the plane. It was worth it. Okay. Sheen Rana, morning Gamma. Okay. Good morning to you, Sheena. Russ Thomas. Hey, Eddie. The girls from Soy Honey are going to meet. There's literally. He's here. Okay. It's always a dreadful moment. Karl is in the waiting room. He's in the waiting room. I've had this before with this bloody StreamYards and send a message on Facebook. If ever there comes a time when it runs perfectly smoothly, I wonder what's happening. I'll get suspicious. Okay, it's going to step through the chat, and then we're going to. Yeah, and thank you for that. Just message Karl to tell me the message. Thanks for that, and that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to bring my guest on here now. Don't forget, I'm a bit of a numpty with all this technology, and it's actually been a while since I've had a guest on this Steady Eddie channel. Okay, but I'll give a brief introduction about Karl. He has a superb YouTube channel. It's adventure, it's excitement, it's the real deal, and he's going to come in and tell us all about it anyway. So without further ado, welcome to Karl'S Thailand. There you go, man himself. Okay, how are you?
Am I sounding all right, Ed? Are you getting echo? Do you want me to put earplugs in?
I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. I can. It sounds good to me. It really sounds good to me. I'm always. I'll tell you what, Carl. You may have heard me saying a moment ago. This bloody when send the messages on Facebook and all this. It never goes smooth. There's always hiccups, and I'm always saying, "Oh, geez, I'm gonna have egg on my face if I can't get." Yeah, it took a while, but anyway, thanks to Ant, by the way. Good old Ant who sent the message. Okay, Carl, so where are you right now then? Where are you right now?
In Pattaya.
You're in Pattaya, okay?
In Pattaya, yeah, just sitting in a hotel room.
Okay.
For a nice long walk and a shower.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Karl is in Pattaya right now. Now, you live in Pattaya, that you full time?
Yeah. That's pretty much my base these days.
Okay, so Karl lives in Pattaya, Thailand, and he goes on adventurous trekking stuff. Now, when you think about it, that is not a bad life, is it? It's not a bad life for anyone, okay? Okay, so first of all, Karl, a little brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Only just brief, about your. Well, we'll talk a lot about it. We're going to talk a lot about the channel, but you don't have to give away your age. A gentleman doesn't have. Ask another gentleman his age.
Yeah, I'm not about my age. I'm 58. 58
yeah, so you're an old geezer like I am. You're an old geezer like I am.
Yeah, I guess we're in the same age group.
Couple of months' time, I'm going to be the big 6-0. Oh my God Almighty! I can't. But where does your life go? Do you ever remember that scene from Fawlty Towers where Basil John Cleese is sitting there in the chair and he's in one of his melancholy moments and he goes, "What was that? That was your life, mate." Oh, is that it? Yeah. Do I get another one? No. You only get one life, and I think this is relevant.
Turning 60 next year, as we'll do next year. Yeah, it does kind of make you think, but so far so good. Still having a good time. There's not much I can't do now that I couldn't do when I was 20. So that's good.
That's terrific. So basically, I think, to be honest with you, I know this is a depressing thing to say, but when you get to our age, you've got to seize every bloody year as if it's your last one alive. You've got to make the most of your life, and basically, this is exactly what you're doing, isn't it? You are really living a dream, not just the rest and relaxation in Pattaya, but also the adventurous stuff.
Yeah, well, I first visited Thailand in 1987, and I just, so it's like 35 years ago, and I fell in love with the place immediately. It was a bit different back then. Not so many people travelled to Thailand, and so before I knew it, I was living here. Within a couple of years, I'd moved over. I was just teaching English, but I always had this kind of fascination with travelling around. Myself and a couple of friends who also lived here, we just grabbed 3,000 or 4,000 baht in those days. It was a fair bit of money. And we just hop on local buses and just go up the northeast and just see what was there, just getting all kinds of mischief and adventure. And I think someone said, I've always had like an incurable sense of adventure. Yeah. And that's still true to this day. If I find out about some place that sounds exciting and I haven't been there yet, I've got to go there.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that year of 1987. And do you know what just came to my mind then? 1987. I think that was about the first time that I actually became aware of Thailand. And 1987, I think that was a year when a very, very well-known episode of Alan Wicker went out, where he visited Thailand, and I saw another YouTuber actually uploaded that quite recently. That episode where he was doing a QE2, wasn't it? It was the QE2, and he stopped off in Thailand.
I saw it. I can remember watching that and thinking, "Wow, that looks like a crazy place."
Yeah, and he actually went to Pattaya. I didn't know until he actually went to Pattaya. I'm funny enough, I watched that episode when another YouTuber uploaded it quite recently. And I watched it, and that's 35 years. Yeah, that's 35 years ago. And I watched that program, and it was amazing how much of it that I remembered. I even scene from scene, I remembered that program. But I think that's when I really thought to myself, I want to go there. Absolutely.
It was, it was a mind blower, Ed. You can imagine, when I flew in, I was 23 years old. So, kind of, everything kind of, the train left the tracks at that point. Yeah. I was here for 3 months on the first visit, and we travelled around, went up to Chiang Mai, Koh Samui. I couldn't believe Koh Samui. It was Robinson Crusoe. I'd never seen a whole coconut before,
Yeah, absolutely. That's
and
amazing.
In those days, there was no airport on Samui. We stayed on beach bungalows on the beach for 40 baht a night. Woke up in the morning and have the beach to myself. It was just idyllic.
I love that kind of stuff. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. I mean, recently I went to a favourite of mine, Koh Chang, and I went to Kai Bay and stayed there for 9 days. The simplicity of it, that beautiful beach, it makes you think, why would you want to go anywhere else? Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Real Robinson Crusoe stuff, adventurous. I love all of that. So it was a question I'd like to ask you, Karl. Okay, before we talk about your channel, let's go back to those early days. Late 1980s, and that's when I first started there. And I never believed it when I heard, because I know what people like they exaggerate. But that's when I first started hearing about people get out to Thailand, take a grand with you, and live like a king for 6 months. And I heard that all the time. That was that old saying that used to go. Was there any truth in any of that at that time? It's all really.
Which do you mean, get out of Thailand? I'm not with you.
No. When I was back in England, I heard people saying, get out to Thailand.
Oh, sure.
You can take a grand out to Thailand and live like a king for 6 months. You still hear that today.
It was a bit like that. I remember what happened was, I used to run a business many years ago selling Beatles memorabilia. I was in the pop group, and myself and a friend. The friend who used to run the business with, we kind of sold the business up. We sort of missed out on things like traveling, and we can remember deciding like where did we want to go. And remember we had a big map of the world on the wall, and I'd seen probably the Alan Wicker program or something. And I remember looking at Thailand, and it just looked so far away.
Absolutely.
And I had images of the Golden Triangle and everything.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Going in my head, and then I found out, it's economical. You can go there. Your money goes a long way, and lots of pretty ladies. It was, it was to me, it was a no-brainer.
It took me a good few years to actually get out there, but never looked back since. It's a wonderful country. Yeah. So those during the 1990s, what did you do really? I mean, did you work or have your own business there or something?
I used to spend a lot of time in Thailand. I got into mini cabin, which in those days was quite, it was quite profitable. You could you could work, you could graft a bit, you could graft for 4 or 5 months, and then clear off to Thailand for 3 months. So that. Yeah, I loved it at that time. That job at that time was just ideal. It gave me flexibility. And I've spent time in Thailand every year since 1987. There hasn't been a year since then that I've spent some time. Sorry, just incidentally, Ed, as an aside, I've got lots of, in those days, between 87 and 92, I used to take pictures, lots of slides. And I've still got loads of them. And I've recently digitized them. So very soon on my channel, I'm going to be doing a video of each year from 87 to 92, and I'm going to show some of these slides, because people did go there in those days, but it was just, it was film, and every frame was sacred, and a lot of people lose the negatives, or the pictures get crumpled. So not many people have got the pictures. So I think that's something people might be interested in.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will, Karl. I did it 10, 11 years ago, something like that. I did a big 6-month adventure around South America, and it was absolutely fantastic. It fulfilled a few dreams there. But this was before I was on YouTube, and I had a fairly jaded camcorder, which I thought was good at the time, but I've always wanted to upload some of that stuff to YouTube, but the quality is just not good, so I missed out on that. But it would be great if you've got that stuff. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see how many others would as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool, because it was slides that I took. The quality is still there. You know, they kind of, you know, they haven't faded or anything. So it's pretty cool. You know, it was really good going through them and digitizing them and sorting them out. You know, just so many memories. and you know what? I noticed the irony is like, you know, like you used to take pictures because you were in Thailand. You go to the Grand Palace and Doi Suthep in Chiang Mai. But actually, what I've learned is it's the pictures you just took of things like the street and people that are the most interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because like the Grand Palace looks pretty much the same today as it, you know, as it did 35 years ago. Yeah. But when you hairstyles change, cars change. So you know, it's the pictures of people that you really appreciate in the future.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Dixie Enormous, who's a regular here, has got a question for you. Question to Karl: would you move back to sunny, great UK or Thailand your home now?
I'd rather not. I mean, I love the UK as a country. I mean, it's a beautiful country. I love traveling around and hiking and that kind of thing. But no, I mean, I think Thailand captured my imagination the first time I landed here as a 23-year-old, and I don't think it's ever left me.
I think so. I hate saying anything negative about when people about the UK, because it comes back to bite me. People often pull me, Ed, you shouldn't say that, Ed. You shouldn't say negative things about the UK. You know, sometimes I voice my opinions, but it's the climate there, isn't it? You know, the rain, the cold, the mist. A winter that seems to go on for an eternity. You know, I'm seriously thinking about, you know, moving away, but I've got to find the right place to settle. I've still got that traveller in me, you see. So if you've got to retire abroad, you've got to find the right place where you want to stay for the rest of your life. Yeah,
the climate's a bit of a downer. You know, also I think, you know, English culture has kind of changed a bit. You know, it's all got a bit muted and diluted, and you know, I'm just not a big fan of some of the changes that have gone on.
Another question here. This one from Roy Gold. Ask Karl what other countries he's been to.
God, really? Lots in Southeast Asia. You know, I've explored this area pretty thoroughly. You know, I've done the, you know, Thailand. I went into Burma when it was just a couple of months after it changed its name to Myanmar. That was fascinating. Cambodia, spent a lot of time in Cambodia. First went to Cambodia in '96. Combined, I've spent between 2 and 3 years there. You know, a lot of them recently. Love Cambodia. Vietnam, first visited in '96. Then I didn't visit. I visited Vietnam in '96 and 2002, and then I didn't go back for 17 years until a few years ago, and just never seen a place that's changed so much. It just blew me away. You know, Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City. It used to be all cyclos and bicycles and motorcycles, and it's
like Las Vegas. I mean, you know, Vietnam reopens, and they say it is soon. I think it'll take a while because all of that Las Vegas stuff, that all the bright lights and everything, you know, it will take a while to get going. So let's talk a little bit about your channel. I mean, you've had the YouTube channel for the year, about a year.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah, probably getting towards a year and a half now. Yeah.
Okay, so just to explain it, Karl'S Thailand is different from the other YouTube channels out there. I mean, a lot of the other YouTube channels, let's walk up Soyber Cow and beat, you know, whatever. There's none of that. It's real adventures, and it's a niche, isn't it? You are aiming at the people who are interested in adventures, the people who have looked at rural Thailand and thought to themselves, I'd love to do all that, but how do I go about it? I mean, your channel, it's an educational channel, really, isn't it? You know, you're actually educating people on what it would be like to deal with this.
I'm just trying to sort of, you know, educate people and sort of show them that there's another side of it. I mean, I wouldn't expect some of the stuff I do, you know, some people would call a bit crazy, but it's, you know, I guess that, you know, I get a lot of people kind of say that, I wouldn't do that, but I think people can still enjoy watching it.
Yeah,
and now
I've watched a lot of your videos, Karl, and I mean the actual maybe 20-minute videos, whatever, maybe 25 minutes, and it's quite striking, really. It is damn good entertainment. I really, really mean that. It seems to me like there's probably not that many people out there who are doing what you're doing, the adventurous travel, you know, the trekking through the jungles and all that, simply because it's very demanding. I have a saying, there's only one way to do anything, and that's properly. And a lot of people who would like to maybe do YouTube, they can't really do it properly. I mean, you're actually showing it warts and all, you know, what it would really be like.
Yeah, sure. It's a bit hard, you know, because when I started the YouTube channel, and probably still to this day, you know, I'm a bit kind of idealistic, even stubborn about it. It's just right, this is what I want to do, you know, like this is what, you know, after 35 years of spending time here, you know, what really gets me off is just all these adventures and excitement. But you know, you're a bit idealistic with what you want to do in your channel, but then reality is like the algorithm that pushes your channel out.
Yeah.
What it rewards is people walking up and down soy 6 and soy 7. You know, I know because I tried it. I did a couple of Pattaya videos, and they, you know, they got between 10 and 20 times my normal views. Yeah. You know, and I guess, you know, and most people would just at that point, they would just say, well, that's it. I'm just doing Pattaya videos. I'm going to walk up and down.
Absolutely. No, the thing is, you have to stick to your guns. But like I said, you know, to do it properly, I mean, your chat, I can watch a few of your videos and I can think to myself, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And the reason I think there's probably not that many channels who are doing that sort of trekking across Thailand is because it is so demanding. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of thought that goes into it. And another thing as well, what I will mention, I said warts and all. It really, really is, isn't it? I mean, if you used to say to the average man in the street, would you like to go trekking through the jungle? That weird jungle, all of a sudden, oh my God, romance, adventure, action all the way. It's not like that. There's a bit of an unpleasant side to it as well, isn't there, Karl? You know,
I think you're probably, perhaps you're probably thinking about the video I did of Nick Dean. When I did with Nick Dean of EDDY'S. I took him to Khao Yai. Yeah. And, you know, if you hike in the jungle in the rainy season, it is just full of leeches. And there's no way you can avoid them. But incidentally, I did that hike just a week ago, I think a week ago today or 6 days ago. Yeah. And there wasn't a leech in sight because it's the dry season. So, you know, a lot of it's kind of circumstantial. But, you know, most people could do it. They could if they put their mind to it.
I think full credit to you for showing the because you do have to tell people what they're in for. You know, people have to know what they're in for if they do something like that. I mean, that scene with you and Nick with the leeches on the ankles and it's tough to watch it, but you know, people need to know that. It reminded me, have you ever seen the movie The African Queen, Humphrey Bogart?
Oh, I know of it. No, I haven't actually.
It's a legendary movie. That's what. Yeah, he's going through the river. I always remember, I'm thinking, leeches, damn filthy leeches. you know, that's what I think. That's what I first heard the word.
But you know, some things are, you know, some things are incredible. I mean, like 30 years ago, I used to work at Khao Yai National Park as a tour guide. I just used to work with the local Thai guy, and we used to tourists, you know, it was never a big money thing, but we'd have a few Western tourists, we'd get a small group together and we'd take them through the jungle. And I loved it. And in those days, they still had wild tigers at Khao Yai. I mean, they were rare, but they still had them. And I just think back at some of the experiences, you know, like even if we didn't have a tour, I wanted to see a wild tiger. So I'd spend like my weekends off and I'd go up there and, you know, I'd hang around with the rangers and that. And, you know, eventually I got to see and take pictures of a wild tiger. And I've never met, well, apart from rangers, I've never met another person who's seen a wild tiger in Thailand, you know. I got to see it twice. So it's not just all these kind of, well, some people would regard sort of coming across the tigers negative, but I don't, you know, it's not all leeches and, you know, it's fun. It's good exercise, you know, just love the adventure of it.
I'd say, what have I seen a wild tiger? It would be good exercise because that would run like hell. Here's a question for you, and here's another question for you there from Stephen O'Connor in Phnom Penh. Stephen, I was first in Cambodia in 1999, then came back to live in 2005. is it completely different now? And the question is, what was Karl's first impressions of Cambodia when he first came here?
My first impression of it back then in '96 was, some of the airlines had only just started flying there. It was, my memories are, arriving at the airport and they just had a desk and about 4 people on the desk and they each checked a thing, and then you gave the last guy, I can't remember if it's $20 or $30. What I remember, it was very backwards, compared to what it is today. A lot of it reminded me then of how the area used to be by the market on Street 5. It used to be like really bumpy and potholed. So all the main roads like 130, 136, 174, all those roads were very potholed. There were hardly any street lights. Everything was dark. Just the main boulevards were lit. So it was just constantly dark. There was no nightlife as such as we think of it today. It was all very kind of, you'd get on there were no tuk-tuks back then. Now it's hard to believe now because the place is crawling with tuk-tuks. But there were no tuk-tuks. Everything was the motos. If you wanted to go out at night, you had a moto driver, and he'd wait for you. It was a bit tense. If you went somewhere like Martini's, like the original Martini's, it seemed like it was miles out of town. And in those days, you still had stories of the police holding people up, and just sort of extracting money. It was a bit tense because Pol Pot was still alive. And the Khmer Rouge still existed as a guerrilla group. They weren't in charge, but they were causing problems as a guerrilla group. And I've got some great pictures from the first time I went up to Siem Reap. Myself and my friend were going to get a bus back to Phnom Penh, and someone come up and said, "Don't get the bus, There's a helicopter going. Get on the helicopter." And it was something like $20 each. And it was this great big Russian military helicopter. I've got the pictures. I'll show them sometime. And we got in the back of that, and then I remember it was noisy and hot, but then the pilots come in and they said, "Oh, come with us in the cockpit." And it was this great big pressurized cockpit, nice and cool. And the helicopter was so big, it had to glide, it had to go along like a plane to get up, and I just remember when we landed in Phnom Penh, as we got off, there was a soldier waiting for both me and my friend on the motorcycle, and they saluted us, and they had orders to take us wherever we were going in Phnom Penh, So we just went to the Royal Guest House. So I get it could be a bit tense back then if you went outside of Phnom Penh. Phnom Penh was all right, but just backwards. But I actually prefer Phnom Penh the way it's been like the past 5-6 years.
Yeah, I think it's a great city. When I think the reason I wanted to go to Cambodia, I've been to Vietnam and Philippines, lots of other countries, and I heard mixed reviews about Cambodia, and particularly Phnom Penh. And I think the first place I went from Thailand, the first place I went was Sihanoukville, which seemed to be full of surfer dudes, young guys with bleached blonde hair, and I didn't like it at first, but people told me, "Oh, don't go to Phnom Penh. It's a hellhole. It's dreadful. It's dangerous. It's rubbish." So I wanted to see the killing fields. That's what I went there for. I wanted to see I know it's depressing, but I felt I needed to see it. So my plan was to go there for a couple of days, see the killing fields, and then get out of there. And on that trip, I ended up staying a whole week. I mean, what blew me away was the people, the Cambodian people that you meet there. What wonderful characters. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I fell in love with that place. I really, really did. Really did.
Yeah, people always talk, they always say, "Oh, Cambodia is what Thailand was 20 years ago." I can see what they're talking about, but there's more to it than that. I think that the Khmers do have a separate identity, even if it's subtle. I think they tend to be more humble.
Yeah.
But perhaps they're not as gregarious as the Thais, but they tend to be more humble. But they've definitely got there's a serenity about the place that I love.
Do you know what I've found? This might seem. Have you been to Laos? You've been to Laos? Yeah,
been to Laos, yeah, several times. Never really explored it. Only Vientiane really.
And I
travelled through it once overland to go to Vietnam a long time ago. But we were just travelling on a bus.
Yeah, it may seem like a strange comment, but I visited Vietnam a few times, Cambodia, got to know very well, Thailand obviously, but I went to Laos once, And I found the people there were very, very different. It's like they weren't bad. It was just like they didn't really have a personality the way these neighbouring countries were. You know, they were kind of nondescript, kind of forgettable. In fact, I travelled all through Laos and I can't actually remember the people very well. Maybe it was something they put in the beer.
It's funny, actually, you know, like I never really considered it. I must admit, you know, like Vientiane didn't really grab me. I mean, you know, it's a place I like to go to because it's travelling and it's kind of an adventure and you're somewhere different. Yeah, it never really grabbed me. I've got a friend who lives in Laos now, actually, you know, and he's kind of, he's saying that, he said the sort of downsides are starting to show themselves, but, you know, but on the other hand, he's sort of setting himself up there in businesses, so it can't be that bad. But, you know, I haven't travelled it enough to really claim to have much insight.
Oh, it is. In fact, there are some people who say that, you know, it's at least as beautiful a country as any of the neighbouring ones. And I went through there. I went there, you know, on a slow boat through the Mekong. It's the Mekong, not the Mekong, the Mekong. And it was absolutely beautiful country. And the 4,000 islands, I crossed from Cambodia into the southern Laos, into the 4,000 islands. I think that's what they call them. And they're absolutely lovely there. You know, you've got
brilliant. That sounds like a real adventure.
Oh, it's lovely. So what I did notice about Laos is that there's a much higher, not now, because these are not normal circumstances, but there's a much higher proportion of young backpackery types. A lot of these Western, they look like kids, look like 18, 19-year-olds. It seems to be really, really popular with them.
I think it's really, you know, that those at that age people are looking for new places and adventure, especially the backpackers. And I think Thailand's got a bit, you know, it's a bit of reputation. Oh, yeah, everybody's been to Thailand these days. You know, when I first started going there, Thailand was still an adventure. It was exotic. And people, you know, they're kind of like, oh, everyone goes to Thailand, you know, so I'll go somewhere different. I think that's a shame in some ways because Thailand has just got so much to offer. And also you've got the infrastructure, so these places are accessible. But the thing is, you know, people just, you know, they read what they read. And but honestly, you believe you me, you know, look at my chat, you can have some great adventures in Thailand still to this day. But I guess that's it. You know, the backpackers have always been the people that have been the first to discover places. You know, places like Koh Samui, it was the backpackers. Phuket.
Yeah, this is all before me. I mean, you know, backpackers discovered that years ago. Now you mentioned places like Koh Samui and, you know, Phuket and places like that to a lot of people. The first thing they say, bloody expensive. That's what they say.
Oh, yeah, I doubt many backpackers could afford Samui these days, not like it used to be. I haven't been to Samui for 15 years, and when I went, 17 years. When I last went there in 2005, I can remember thinking, this place has changed too much. I'm not a negative person. I'm not one of these people who's like the good old days. Everything was fantastic, you know. But some places are just, you know, you just can't. You've got that memory. And
I've been to Krabi. I've been to Phuket years ago. I've never been to Koh Samui. I may do it on this day, or Koh Phangan. A lot of people still like Koh Phangan. I've never been there. What is that place like?
Well, you know, again, I haven't been there for about 17 years, but I've got friends who go there regular. Well, yeah, Koh Phangan has still got a side to it where I suppose it is a bit alternative. You know, it's a lot of, you know, it's kind of yoga retreats and that kind of alternative thing, but I think there are still some cheap options there. You know, if people just want to chill and enjoy the beach, they can. And if they want to learn like Reiki and all these other things, they can do that too.
Yeah, somebody did comment on one of my streams. He said, when I talk about, you know, the place I'm planning on going to, my little trip. He said, if you go to Koh Phangan, will you be going to the full moon party? I don't. Do I look like someone who's going to go to a bloody full moon party? I went to one of the first full moon parties on Koh Phangan. You know, not 88 or 89. It was just a couple of hundred people around a bonfire. Getting wasted. That was it, really. You know, it's the last time I was there, you know, 2005, we managed to get a room on Hadrin Beach, and it was the build up a few days before the full moon party.
And I think we made it, it was so hard getting a room, and we had this kind of valued room, but it was just so mad to me that we just bugged out the day before the full moon party. It was just. Yeah.
So somehow I don't think that's so the Crag 777 Eddie full moon party from a senior perspective for us older fellas. Somehow I still don't do that. Listen. Another thing before we change the subject a little bit. Now about your videos, Karl. One of the things I was watching, the camera work is quite striking, and there are some really, really great shots of landscapes and mountainsides and all that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what cameras you use on your
Do you know what? I do everything on my iPhone. This thing I'm using now, that's Karl'S Thailand.
Really?
All the video I shoot on my iPhone. All my editing I do on my iPhone. I'm sitting there sometimes squinting my eyes, playing around. But, I can do it on the move,
Yeah.
One day, if the channel does well, I might upgrade to an iPad. It does get a bit finicky sometimes, but
no, I thought about actually doing that when I bought a new laptop, last year and whatever. And I like the comfort of sitting there, on a laptop. I did think about that on an iPhone. What I did hear from someone, you can get an editing system on your iPhone. And the camera, people rave about the camera on the modern iPhones. Just when you upload it to YouTube, your camera looks fantastic. Somebody said that when you upload to YouTube, it's just downgrades the quality a little bit. Is there any truth?
It can do, really, it does get very technical, Ed. I put my videos out in HDR, which is like high definition. 4K, so you're dealing with very big file sizes, but they also upload an ordinary version with it, so it's kind of seamless for people. If they can't watch HDR, they'll just see the ordinary 4K version. It's something that you do have to be a bit technically minded. You've got a choice what quality you upload it, and also you've got a certain choice of bit rates. So I suppose it does get a bit techie, but once you know what you're doing, if you stick to high resolution and high bit rates, it takes a bit more processing power. It takes more time to upload, but the rewards are there,
absolutely. Do you know, when I first started YouTube, I was using YouTube's own editing system, and it was good for a few little things, but basically the upload quality was terrible, and I didn't realize it. And I put some videos out, which, oh geez, I've done a video of Walking Street, Pattaya, and the video quality was terrible. And I thought, what's the matter? I bought a new camera, and the quality's up. And I didn't realize it was actually the editing system I was using. That was what was causing the problems.
Right. Yeah, I suppose you could. Yeah, you've got to be aware of that kind of thing, because your settings can change everything. It could be something as simple as you use the wrong settings when you're recording. And when you're editing too, your output settings. So you've got to be aware of the technical side of it. But in all honesty, it's only really because I'm doing kind of landscapes and I want it to be kind of cinematic. It's only for that reason that I do 4K HDR.
Yeah,
if I was doing kind of street blogs or live streams and things, then it makes sense to go lower. 1080 is fine for most people these days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's ironic, really. Like, you film everything on an iPhone. Cause really,
I use the gimbal as well. It's sometimes. It's not perfect. The iPhones are quite fragile. Sometimes I'm going up mountainsides and things, and the whole setup is quite heavy. And there are occasions when it would make more sense to have a GoPro. But when it comes to all-round flexibility and just being able to do what you want to do, then one of the modern iPhones suits me fine. And a lot of other YouTubers take that path as well. A lot of quite popular. Some of them. If you look, you'll be surprised who uses iPhones.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting an iPhone. I thought, let's splash out on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and all this kind of stuff and all that. But the thing is, I didn't like the idea. It would have come up to about 1,400 quid, whatever. Now I'm not stingy or nothing like that. The problem is, if I'm going down the street, I don't have something that's worth 1,400 quid, holding it in the air. Whereas my Oppo Reno 4, it's a pretty good camera. It's not perfect, but a pretty good phone. That was a 700 phone that I managed to get for 400. So I thought I'll settle for that. So I wouldn't have felt comfortable being somewhere because thieves, if you go down the streets, thieves are not bloody stupid. They know what an expensive iPhone is and what a cheaper phone is, don't they?
It's funny actually you say that. I mean, one of the few negative things I've got to say about Cambodia and Phnom Penh is the, is the snatch and grabbers with the phone. I've had 3 attempts to get iPhones before, over a period of about 5 years. And none of them were successful, but it's
I've seen it.
It's something you've got to be aware of.
They race about motorbikes. Okay, any more questions? Let's see. We have questions for Karl. Let's see. Britain, still on, just to change the subject. Okay, I'll tell you what, we've got 130 people in. When you consider it's an ungodly hour in both Britain and America now, it's a terrible hour. And I didn't advertise this, but there's enough people here. Let's see where we're going now. Okay, so what are the questions about your recent adventures? I was watching it today, the latest video. Don't ask me to pronounce these mountains, but it's quite spectacular. And you took along your friend John, didn't you? Yeah.
It was a really great trip. It was a trip that I'd had planned. It was the first. I'd done a kind of lot of videos that weren't too far away, but I really, since I travelled around with Nick Dean, I hadn't really gone further afield. And there were a couple of places that I wanted to vlog in the northeast of Thailand. So I planned a trip myself and my friend Jimmy, and I was just walking into where I'm staying at the moment, and John saw me and called me over, and he just sort of said, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm off on this trip on Tuesday." And he said, "Can I jump on board?" And I said, "Well, John, it's going to be some sort of crazy stuff we're doing. You know what I mean? It's going to be demanding. Do you still want to do it?" And he pointed out quite rightly that, he had come out to Thailand in December, and since then he'd had a few sort of life knocks, a divorce, and and some health issues, and he come out here determined to turn things around. So since he arrived in December, he'd lost 55 pounds in weight, and he'd been exercising.
I wish I could.
Well, this guy is obviously a trier. He's obviously he's good. I said, "Yeah, sure, John, great." And
he is also very funny. He's also I've met him a couple of times. He's a funny character. Now, when I was watching this, and I see him on the phone, I thought, I know that guy. I've met him a couple of times. I've got a sneaky feeling, Karl, that he's going to appear in quite a lot of your videos in the future, because he's if I watch your channel, I've watched you a lot of times. You are clearly. You're the Burt Lancaster of this. You're the guy, the commander who knows what he's doing. But for someone who's watching this adventure video, all these climbing the rocks and all that, an ordinary guy who's sitting there who may have not really physically very fit, maybe looking at this and thinking to himself, I'm enjoying watching this, but could I personally do that?
Yeah.
And what is good about inviting, John along, he did great in it, is that, he sort of represents the ordinary guy who doesn't normally do this sort
of thing. He makes it relatable, it was a wonderful trip. That was just the video of what, one of the first things we did, I've got at least another 5 videos coming from that trip. We didn't waste any time, Ed, every day. And every night, as it happens, was action-packed, I've got nothing but respect for John. The way he turned his life around. Yeah. He's got such a drive for life.
Yeah. And he's funny. And he's funny as well. And you can't understand the power of humor.
It makes very good video. Just the fact that of that video I put out, when we were charging up that hill towards the temple. And it was just, he didn't whinge once. Yeah. And at one point when it was getting really tough, he just charged up ahead, Yeah. We were trying to scout a route up this mountain, and he just charged up ahead, and he was just all smiles, no whinges. absolute pleasure having him along.
Yeah, brilliant,
really
brilliant. Yeah, and I love this. I love this line when absolutely brilliant line when he said we can't go. The only way we're going to get off here is a helicopter rescue. That's the only way we're going to get down again.
Ed, it was just, you know, we were so near. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. We could see the bottom of one of the temple buildings, and we could hear the people inside the temple talking. But there was supposed to be a ladder that going up this little cliff face, and it was just missing. We just had to turn back. That was all we could do. You know, I could have possibly scaled the first bit of the cliff, but it reached a point where you couldn't. It went round the corner. It was very slippery. It was a sheer drop, and we couldn't see what was round the corner. So if you'd have got up there, and then you couldn't get any further, you'd have been stuck. You know, it would have been a difficult situation to get out. So the thought of turning back was just terrible. But we had to do it, Ed. You know, and I didn't. I didn't video coming down. I think it just would have been too much for people. But it was
that moment in that video with that. I wouldn't have done that. I would have turned back. I would have given up. I'd have phoned for the helicopter rescue. That's what I'd have done. But it looks fantastic. I mean, this you know, obviously you've got a really, really great niche with your channel. And I've come back to what I said a moment ago. If you're doing a channel like that, you've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to do it properly. And it's really, really entertaining. I think you'll go far with it. I mean, the niche is out there, but it's a different niche than, you know, from Cyber Cow and, you know, and Walking Street and all that. You know, it's a totally different audience, isn't it? But, you know, the audience, you know, you will. I think you'll do really well. Well, I mean, I'm loving the videos, Karl. Absolutely loving them.
I hope so. You know, I think most people who get to find the channel, you know, enjoy it. You know, if they're kind of open-minded to that kind of thing. But it is, it's just really hard to find the audience. You know, it's, you know, I mean, I've had a lot of people helping me. You know, a lot of people who are, you know, vlogging Pattaya and things like that. You know, they like my channel, and they give me shouts. But you know, I guess at heart, it's kind of like, there's only a certain percentage of their viewers who really would be interested in what I'm doing, you know. I think,
well, basically, you know, I think you will attract an audience from outside of the box sooner or later. I really, really think you. Another thing, to go back to the iPhone, what seems strange that, you know, you're filming on an iPhone, but it's really big screen entertainment. I mean, here I've got my laptop. If I was back in the UK, I would watch that on my 48-inch TV. That's where I would watch that, you know, because it is big screen entertainment.
Do you know what, Ed? If you know, like sometimes when I get the chance to watch the videos on a big screen or something, it's like seeing them for the first time.
Yeah.
Because literally, you know, like I'm filming it and I'll just sit there like laying in a hotel room doing my editing, just
absolutely,
zipping it and playing it, and then I'll upload it. And I've never even seen it on a big screen. A lot of them, you know.
Yeah, a couple of comments here. Let's see. Bobby Crush. Eddie's walks are more walking back from the co-op with 2 carrier bags full of Boddingtons and pork pies. Yeah, he's got that right. Bobby Crush, another comment from him. Is this Ross Kemp? You're not Ross Kemp, are you? Is Ross Kemp? Is he one of the EastEnders, is he? Is he what? Kipax.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to be able to go out and grab a couple of pork pies.
I do want to.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, Kieran White. Hi, Eddie. Cold in UK. Your vids are a great escape from the madness. Okay, thank you. Let's see any more. We've got 136 people here because I'm not really worried about the number of people in the chat. It's great to have them here, but this is an ungodly time. I mean, if I was back in the UK, 23 minutes past 7 on a Sunday morning, I think I'd be in the land of nod then. And in America, obviously, it's extremely late at night. I just wish the whole bloody world was on the same time zone and make things so much easier. So what I was going to ask you, Karl, I mean, the channel is called Karl'S Thailand, obviously.
Yeah, Karl with a K.
What is it again?
Karl with a K.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's there. It's there. Karl'S Thailand with a K. So let's say maybe a year or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. I mean, you know, you've explored and maybe exhausted all the places. And I know that I'm sure there's a lot of it. But would you then be looking at taking the show to maybe Vietnam or other countries, maybe There's a lot to explore there.
Yeah, sure. You know, maybe soon it'll be Karl's Planet.
Yeah, as it Karl's Thailand goes to Laos. Karl's Thailand goes to Vietnam. I think Cambodia. I love Cambodia a bit. I don't think the landscape there is as spectacular, but one of the things, the best boat trip I ever did in Cambodia was not the Mekong one. It was actually the one from Siem Reap to Battambang. And that's the one which reminds me a little bit of the African Queen. You know, I'm coming back to the African Queen with all the reeds and all the buses.
I did that same boat ride in 2002. Where it's going around the river and it's banking and like that, isn't it? Yeah. That was good. And at that time, it was actually much faster to take the boat than to take the road. Probably not so today, but the road used to be terrible. You know, it used to take like 10 hours or something to get from Siem Reap to Poi Phet. But if you got the boat from Siem Reap to Battambang, as they pronounce it, you went to Battambang, then it was just an hour in the taxi from there to the border.
I thought. I mean, I done the 2-day boat trip through the Mekong in Laos, the slow boat, which is really comfortable, really lovely. But for pure excitement, that Siem Reap to Battambang took about 9 hours, and as you're going through, all the villages are coming out on, they're housed on stilts and waving at you. Think this is about as authentic as it gets. You know, I love that journey. I didn't like Battambang, but it's worth doing it just to do that boat journey. I thought that was really quite wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it sounds maybe it was slightly different. You know, because the trip I took was on a very fast boat. You know, it literally was whizzing around the corners and it was banking and everything. And it was, it was about 2 or 3 hours. I remember. So maybe they had like different tours. Maybe you had the relaxed one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's just go through a few of the. Let's go through a few of these comments. Dixie Normas, Eddie and Karl's Thai cooking show coming soon. I'll tell you what. Let me just hide that one a minute. I'll tell you what. I'm actually getting used to the Thai food now. I am really. I mean, not just to make a video of it and to be impressed, but I am actually genuinely starting to like some of the Thai food now. So let's see. What K-Pax, what's Karl's name? Karl? Karl, well, whatever.
That's it.
Yeah. Let's see. Any others? JHK, don't lie to us, Eddie. The best thing about Cambodia is the 50-cent lagers on happy hour. Okay, fair enough. Absolutely. Boxer Monkey, I think Cambodia and their beautiful, welcoming people are like Thailand was 30 years ago. Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. Kipax, is Karl in prison? You know, in prison.
I know, yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's just got really crap lighting in here. You know what I mean? And I just sort of didn't have time to set up with a green screen or something. But yeah. It's a bit Spartan, isn't it?
Karl, you're talking about crap lighting. Oh my God! Do you know when I left for the UK from the UK to come here a couple of months ago? You leave and you pack your suitcase. Now, have I got everything? Have I got everything? I'm looking around. Yeah. Got everything. Okay. And when I was on the airplane, the Emirates Airlines, I thought, I know what I forgot. I forgot my Logitech webcam. I forgot that, which is really good. So I've had to buy this thing here, which is it's just not as good. I don't even know what make it is. I can't say it. It's just Real Tech or whatever. It's just
this is the same phone I used to make all my videos, but obviously. Live streaming and that it's much lesser quality. Like I said, it's got the bad light. Ed, can I just go back to something that one of the comments you read out a moment ago? When somebody said, the Cambodian people are like the Thais were 30 years ago. The good Thai people, you remember, they're still there. You've just got to travel further to see them. It's still. I've broken down in a car, in the middle of the mountains and in a windy road, and I just couldn't believe it. Out of this house, I'd blown a tire, so I just got one of them little jacks out they give you in the back of the cars, and I thought, here we go, this is going to take a while, and I started doing it, and then just next thing I know, I hear the sound of this big trolley jack coming down the drive in the middle of the mountain. Some guy, this big industrial jack, and he just did the wheel change for me and then wouldn't accept a single baht for it. You know, these wonderful Thai people, they still exist, you know, perhaps in the big tourist centres where they're constantly exposed to us, sometimes at our worst. You know, they have become a bit jaded, but, you know, the really good Thai people, the authentic people, they're still there.
Do you know? So that's a really good comment, Karl. Do you know what I think? In a way, you can say that some about parts of England. I mean, I live in a rural place. I live in Devon. Well, I used to anyway, but I don't not for much bloody longer. But I live in a town in Devon where the locals. They'll never accept people from Liverpool or neighbouring. They'll think, you're still an outsider, mate. The locals in this town where I live look upon me. I'm not a local. I'm someone. And yet the fact is that if you drive out into the sticks, go out into the countryside, the little villages, you'll see totally different set of Devonians. Like you just said, these are the kind of Devonians that I always wanted to meet, these rural people. I'm sorry to say this, but you know what ruins a lot of things back in England is that football just is like it festers throughout the world. I meet people in the town where I live back in Devon, and all they bloody want to talk about is football. That's the only subject. You haven't got any other conversation other than football. You go out into the rural villages in Devon, and you meet the real Devonians. You meet the real people there. These are very, very different. And so I know exactly what you're saying. I think that's kind of universal, really. Let's see. What else have we got? Okay. Jason Finch, you should go to Nana Plaza in Bangkok. How do you know I haven't already been there? I might have been there last night for all you know, Jason. Kipax, do a walk live around Bangkok, Eddie. If you can get me bloody... I'm a bit of a numpty with Karl. I've got this gimbal. I bought this gimbal. It was really highly rated gimbal. I took it to Greece and to Turkey. So it never ever left the suitcase. I never took it out the box. I attempted to use it recently, and it was a bloody disaster. I can't get it to work properly. So I think I'll just hold my phone. And the problem is when you're in somewhere like Bangkok or Pattaya, you've got to make yourself inconspicuous if you're going to do any form of live streams or anything like that. So I think it's best to just hold the phone, and at least you'll get away. If you're walking around with a bloody big gimbal, people are not it's obvious what you are, and people are not going to react very friendly towards it. But we've chatted on. We've gone on for over an hour now. Now, this is pretty good. 151 people in the chat here for the ungodly time that it is, because I'm thinking of other countries, you see. I'm thinking of Britain and America there. And also, I'd like to apologise for people for not advertising this stream, simply because this is an interview with Karl, and people hopefully will watch this stream when I upload it later. Karl has been a great guest. He's got a fantastic, it's visually, very, very visually quite stunning. Some of those early shots and everything. It's for anyone who's ever had any interest in, just getting out and seeing the countryside of Thailand, you're not going to do better than Karl'S Thailand. It's a great channel. And I think...
Just a thought, Eddie, one thought I've had, a lot of people, I understand people have got a limited amount of time for their holidays. They come out here for 3 weeks, maybe a month or something, and perhaps they'd like to see the other side of Thailand, but they also want to unwind. It's their holiday. But one thing that people could consider doing is perhaps if they've got a favourite lady over here, you can travel with her. You'd be amazed how many Thai people have not seen their own country. Yeah. And if you get a group of you get a friends and a couple of ladies and start showing them driving around Thailand, it's absolutely fantastic, and it'll end up costing a lot less than just kind of partying in Pattaya or Bangkok, or Phuket, wherever.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question I wanted to ask, because you've done a fair bit of traveling. I've done a bit of traveling as well. About a wow moment. In the traveling that you've done, all these places you've been to, what is one moment that you recall when you thought, oh wow, I can't believe where I am? Is there any moment that stands out?
But probably that, that time. Well, the 2 times when I come across a tiger, that was, that wild tiger. I couldn't believe it. It was something I'd wanted to do for years, and the first time I saw one, I had my camera with me, and you can see my pictures on my video. I did a video of it where I tell the stories. That was probably it. Just so many times, I wish I'd had a bit of time to think about that question, because it's just been so many occasions when it's blown my mind. I'll tell you what, one that happened last year was I went up to Chiang Khan, which is on the Laos border, on the Mekong River, and we got up very early in the morning to go up a mountain. And it was a Thai bank holiday, so it was very, very busy. And we knew that there'd be queues to get up this mountain, so we got up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and we went up that mountain. I've got it on one of my videos, and it was just hundreds of people waiting for the sun to rise. Yeah. And at first, this place was famous for, the sea of clouds, the cloud inversion, where you're above the clouds. And at first, it just looked like it wasn't going to happen. And then over a space of about 15 minutes, the cloud inversion happened, and the sun came up above the clouds. That really was a mind blower. That was stunning.
Really. Yeah, fantastic. I must admit, in my own travel, share this way, I have had 2 wow moments, which are real. 2 of those, I can't believe where I am. And funny enough, one of them was when I first arrived in Vietnam about 20 years ago, because I hadn't really done that much traveling, only Europe or whatever. I've been brought up, the Vietnam War was the very, very, very first news story that I ever remember in my life. It was on the TV every night. And then you watch all those movies about Vietnam, and it's the kind of place you think, I'll never, ever be able to go to this place. And when I told people 20 years, I'm going to go to Vietnam, people still think, oh, you're going to meet the Viet Cong. Oh, that's silliness. People couldn't shake off the war and all the connotations and all that. And I must admit, all the hassle I had getting my visa and everything at that time. But when I arrived in Vietnam, in Saigon, oh my God, the receptionist, she looked like a Miss World, absolutely beautiful. The welcome that those people gave me was amazing. And then I went into a bar, and the barman shook me hand and poured me some nuts and a beer, and it was like a real rocking bar on Fenham Gloucester. And it was one of those moments I think, my God, I just never ever believed I would be here. And that was a real wow moment to actually arrive in Vietnam, a place you'd heard about all your life for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can remember my first visit to Vietnam. I can remember. I don't know if it's still that way, but I remember the American Embassy compound still had the holes that they'd blown in the wall. When they were trying to get inside the compound, and then helicopters were taking off from the roof and that. Vietnam. There was that feeling of if your places that you'd heard of in movies like Hamburger Hill and the demilitarized zone and. One I really remember from Vietnam was being in a place called Quang Tri province. Yeah. And there was a church that had been in the center of a battle, and it was just pockmarked with, bullet holes and scars. And it was just, you just looked at the shell of this church and you just thought, what the hell must it have been like to have been there at that time,
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the second, if we can just add this one, the second wow moment in my traveling was my big trip around South America. I went from Brazil to Argentina and whatever. And the wow moment that you feel isn't always the obvious one. No, it wasn't the Christ on top of the mountain in Rio. It wasn't even Machu Picchu. Both of those are well worth a visit, of course. I think the real wow moment was coming towards the end of my trip. I travelled through Colombia and then was heading towards the Amazon region of Brazil with the intention of taking a proper Brazilian vessel through the Amazon for a few days, and actually get myself a little cabin. And even the word Amazon, what an adventure that is. And I remember that I finally dragged my luggage across the border. I stayed a couple of days in a Brazilian border town. And when I got on that boat, I got me a little cabin. And as that boat pulled away, I was going to go through the Amazon for a few days. And I thought, Man, if that ain't a wow moment, I'm going to the Amazon. Man, this poor boy who grew up thinking that getting a ferry across the River Mersey was an adventure, is now going to the Amazon. Oh my God! And that was my second big wow moment.
That's quite interesting, Eddie, because I can see you're getting excited now. You're getting the bug. You're getting the.
Oh my God! Oh my.
It's coming back out. You know, I think you might have. I saw one of your videos where you're saying that you decided to kind of like travel around for a bit. You know, I think that's I think that's probably going to be a good decision. You know, I don't think it's one that you'll regret. You know, there's lots of cool places in Thailand. You know, it's it's pretty easy to travel around, despite what people say.
Well, I don't do motorbikes because I'm not a motorbike person, and I don't like internal flights. So it's going to be all by road. Actually, I think I'm in a hotel, a really good value hotel in Bangkok at this moment in time. So there's a lot to do and lot to see in Bangkok. I might be here a little bit longer than what I planned. Maybe I don't know, could even be here for as much as 10 days. And after Bangkok, I think I mentioned to you the other night, I can't pronounce it, the old historical capital of Thailand. What's it, Ayutthaya?
Ayutthaya, or Ayutthaya. It's only an hour north of Bangkok.
So that could be so after here, then that could be a couple of days, 2 or 3 days there will be. I'm at a Leslie Pace, got a little bit of time on my side now. And after that, Hua Hin, and then maybe around the Gulf of Thailand, some of those little towns, maybe, is it Surat Thani? Maybe down that way, and maybe Phuket.
Yeah, Surat Thani, Prachuap Khiri. That's a really nice little town. You know, it's a cool place to spend a night or two. Some nice little sights. So that whole area, it depends what you want to do, Eddie. You know, if it was me, I'd be off in the jungle. I'd be off to Genkajan National Park, but. You know, I'll send you a list. There's a couple of little things you could do down there that really wouldn't involve much sweat and blood. And I think you'd really enjoy it. You know, you could go to Khoi Bari National Park, where they drive you around in the back of a pickup truck, and you're guaranteed to see wild elephants and probably wild buffalo. Yeah. So you know that's something you could do without without actually having to sort of chop your way through the jungle. You know. That
sounds fantastic. So there's a lot to be doing in Bangkok. First, I'm looking for. I've got a bit of time on my side. So I have my own phrase, by the way, and this is the Eddie phrase. Pedestrian travel. That's my own phrase. That I used to be the case where I'd do a 10-hour bus journey somewhere, spend a couple of days there, and then another 10-hour bus. No, not doing that anymore. I'm going to stay longer in each location, and I'm going to do it at a leisurely pace. Because I think if you keep skipping through places, you never really get to know them. Okay, sure. Whatever. We've got a troll in the chat here, but who cares? I don't have moderators. It's also nothing. Lewis Cabo, thank you for that. I'm going to put that on the screen. Lewis Cabo, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Thank you. Is that Mexican? 100 Mexican? Thank you, Lewis Cabo. I do appreciate that super chat. That's nice of you. And okay, so we're going to wrap this one up soon now. 7:40. I keep on my laptop. I've still got the British time, by the way. 7:42 in the morning. Bloody awful time. But listen, there's been 155 people in the chat. I'm actually surprised that there was that many really at this ungodly time. But hopefully people will watch this video. Listen, I'm going to wrap this one up. Karl has been a great guest. It's I forgot what time it is. Whatever time it is in Thailand, that's what it is. And anyway, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm in Bangkok, and I don't know about you, Karl. You're in Pattaya. I'm going to head out for a couple of beers and maybe a roast dinner or something like that. It's Sunday.
It's just what I was thinking, Ed. It's just what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Listen. Check out Karl's Thailand. I will put his title in the description of this video. It's a bit it's adventures, and what it is, it's a proper channel. It's to do adventure channel trekking and all that through Thailand. It's not something to do if you don't really know what you're doing. You've got to do it properly, and Karl is the man to show you. He's going to show you exactly how it should be done. His videos are really entertaining. Okay, now was that a good enough shout out, Karl?
Thanks very much, Ed. Yeah, it's been a
Okay.
pleasure. It's been good to talk to everybody. And yeah, check out my channel. You know, it's different, but I think you might enjoy it if you give it a chance.
Karl is the Harrison Ford of YouTube. Does that sound good? He's the Harrison Ford of YouTube. Okay, he's the man you can rely on. Okay.
Well,
Karl,
I'll tell you what, it beats being compared to Patrick Stewart. That's what I usually get.
No, Harrison Ford's better. Harrison Ford's better. Okay, Karl, great to talk to you. Anyway, I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for being a great guest. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
There we go. Okay, so that was Karl's Thailand, a channel that I really enjoyed. Go check it out. Subscribe. He's making some absolutely wonderful videos out there. If you have a spirit of adventure in you, you are not going to do better than watch that channel. Okay, so I think I've said enough on that one. Now, let me just say we're an hour and a quarter into this. Sorry once again if I didn't advertise this live stream, but hopefully people will watch it later. Thanks to everybody who come along anyway, and have a great day, a great night's sleep if you're in America right now, or a great day if you're in the UK. I'm in Bangkok. I'll be in touch soon, and I'm going to head out in search of a Sunday roast dinner. Cheers, guys. All the best.